The leading cause of death in the United States and Canada is chronic illness. 71% of deaths are led by chronic illness. We want to put a dent into that. We want to take that 71% number and drop it to below 50% by the year 2030. And this book, The Power of Ownership, Redeem Your Health, Live Life by Design, and Break the Relentless Pursuit of Normal, is going to have a massive footprint in that.
This is the Own It Show, where we tell stories of how everyday people made ownership theirs.
This is a little bit of a different show today and how we're diving in. If you know, we've got the Power of Ownership book launching in 7 weeks. 8 Tuesdays from today, the Power of Ownership book is going to be live. It is going to be literally in people's hands, and I could not be more excited. And so what I'm taking the time to do every Tuesday from now until launch day is taking you on a journey through what each chapter looks like, taking you on a journey through what you're going to get out of the book, what it's going to entail, what it's going to look like, and ultimately what you're going to learn from it. Because again, our mission at Own It is to help educate, empower, and equip people to take ownership of their health in a personalized way so that you ultimately play a role in redeeming the health of the world. And what that means to us, again, I've talked about this often, is the leading cause of death in the United States and Canada is chronic illness. 71% of deaths are led by chronic illness. And so for us, we want to put a dent into that. We want to take that 71% number and drop it to below 50% by the year 2030. And the way we're going to do that is educating, equipping, and empowering people to take ownership of their health in a very personalized way. No longer are we good with copying. No longer are we good with guessing. No longer are we good with just complying, but helping you take ownership in a powerful way. And this book, The Power of Ownership, Redeem Your Health, Live Life by Design, and Break the Relentless Pursuit of Normal, is going to have a massive footprint in that. And so if you want to pre-order some copies, go to thepowerofownershipbook.com. Thepowerofownershipbook.com. You're going to get access to a whole bunch of different access files in the vault, from PDFs to frameworks. I'm going to be doing a live training, 2 live workshops that you'll have access to exclusively if you pre-order the book. And so this is what we're diving into. But today, really going over what this book looks like. What does it entail? And so when you open a book, it's actually broken into 3 parts. 3 parts. Part 1 is understanding different. Understanding different. And in part 1, it consists of 4 chapters. First chapter, from normal to different. Basically putting on a pedestal and in comparing against one another a dichotomy that exists between what the world tells us is normal and what a life of different looks like. So when we think about what the world tells us is normal, the stats that we're ultimately seeing in this world, the illness that we're seeing, the symptoms that we're seeing, these things that are just considered normal to us. But what does a life lived different look like? What does a life that's operating in different look like? And how do we now step into that? Which takes us into number 2, or chapter 2, which is a different approach to stress. We realize that stress has an outcome. Stress has an effect on our bodies. And so at the end of the day, we have to realize that chronic stress creates chronic deficiencies at the cellular level, that those deficiencies lead to chronic symptoms. Those chronic symptoms that we accept as normal, which then put us into the space of chronic illness. So chronic stress creates chronic deficiencies, creates chronic symptoms, which creates chronic illness. And that is why it's a leading cause of death at 71%. And we're going to put an end to that. We are going to put a dent in that. We are going to create change there, which I couldn't be more excited about. That brings us into number 3, chapter 3, your body has a language, and ultimately chapter 4, the solution, which is heart rate variability. Knowing that heart rate variability, HRV, is the data that helps drive our direction, the data that helps us determine decisions. We need to make sure that what we're doing is data-driven. If it's not data-driven, it's not built for you. If it's not data-driven, it's not directed for you. We have to get out of this guessing game. We have to get out of just conforming to what it is the world has told us and copying what everybody else is doing. And data helps us drive that. And so in part 1, I want you to understand what different is all about, what living differently is all about, what taking ownership of your health actually looks like. Then we go into part 2. And part 2 is all about the 4 pillars of ownership, really helping you understand what this looks like from a habit-based section. So when you actually dive into this, you're going to notice that biometric data, sleep quality, heart rate variability, and ultimately VO2 max go into cellular deficiency so we can get testing done, we can get custom formulated supplementation and personalized nutrition, and ultimately drive us down into personalized habit change. And there's 4 different chapters on personalized habit change. There's fuel, which consists of hydration and nutrition. We then go into build, which consists of building our body and then building our mind. Pillar 3, which is repair, which we start looking into repair through sleep and immune function, and then renew when we look at environment and self-care. And so what do we need to do in this? How does data drive the habits? How does data drive the decisions in each one of those pillars? So what I need to do from a habit-based standpoint is different than what you need to do, because we're in different seasons, different times, different positions, and have different needs, which then drives us into part 3. And this is all about living different. What does living different actually look like? How do we actually do this? Because I've given you all of this information, but now how do we make this practical? How do we make this applicable? How do we make this personalized to you? And so this is where we get into chapter 9, which is creating a life by design. You're able to create a life by design so that you can take everything we learned and put it into action. So there's actual frameworks, there's actual worksheets, there's actual time where we're going to be able to work through this in a very powerful way. Then takes us into chapter 10, which is taking ownership. Now that you've done this, what does it look like to build a new habit? What does it look like to build a new routine? What does it look like to create a new instinct? What does it look like to create a rhythm that goes based upon action and then driving back to that actual habit change? And then lastly, in chapter 11, and this is probably one of my favorite chapters that I was able to write, which is ownership moments. Knowing that you can do it too. And in ownership moments, we actually take a look at people who have gone through this. We take a journey through 15 different people's lives of what data did to them, of what personalization did to them, of what this ultimately created for them, because you can see yourself in them. You can see through their testimony of what living different brought them through, from diabetes to infertility to just chronic stress to anxiety to the inability to sleep to hopelessness to now being in a different space, to having a different outcome. And that's available to you too, but it all starts with taking ownership. It all starts with living different. And so over the course of the next 7 weeks, over the course of the next 8 Tuesdays, we're going to do a 5-minute deep dive live just like this into each and every chapter so that you can really understand what we're going through. You're going to understand what we're going through in each framework. You're going to understand the contents of each chapter. You're going to understand what it is that we're teaching in each chapter so that you can open your eyes to this. And so, like I said, if you're interested in this book and understanding what's going through this, if you buy this book or if you don't buy this book, it's not going to change my life. But if you do buy this book, I guarantee you it will change yours, because it is going to take you from what's normal to what is different. It's going to take you from what's normal to what could be different. It's going to take you from what's normal to what it is that you're being called to in different. And that is what I'm excited about. It's going to open your eyes to the possibilities. The Power of Ownership Book.com. The Power of Ownership Book.com. That's where you can go pre-order. That's where you can go get locked in so that you can have access to the vault. You can have access to the PDF. You can have access to everything that's there so that you can ultimately take ownership of your health. And we're going to do 2 live workshops that you're going to have access to me directly, which is going to be so exciting. I can't wait to lean in. But thepowerofownershipbook.com, go grab it there, and we'll see you guys over the next 7 weeks on Tuesday to dive into the book further. Let's go.